All right. I can't remember what episode.
We lost track at this point.
It's 11 or 12. But it's the Best Boys Center Ice podcast, and we're gonna take next week off for Christmas.
Okay.
Because I'll be away. But yeah, so we'll take our Christmas break, just like the NHL takes their Christmas break
Next week.
Cool.
Um,
All right. So we're gonna get this thing going. We'll start with our usual, the shout outs to Shemaya Reed and the Refocused Radio Network. Our podcast on YouTube is on there. It'll be on there tomorrow, along with it being on Spreaker.com. And then you could also catch on the Refocused Radio Network Rudy Campos Jr. and Sweep the League, because there's going to get more of you in that shot.
What? We're fine.
Okay. We need more of the handsome guy rather than me. And so Rudy Campos Jr. and Sweep the League is on there. And he's got a great show. There's also some other great shows on the Refocused Radio Network, including I Am Refocused Radio with Shemaya Reed. Check out Rudy's show, Sweep the League, also Sweep Unplugged, and, of course, our show, the Best Boys Center Ice podcast. Post-game for the Penguins and the Oilers, Carson and I have a TikTok account, and we both do post-games. No matter what, win or lose, we're always on there for a post-game. But this is the podcast, and what we do basically is we start with the week that was for the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Edmonton Oilers. This time you get to start with how the week went for the boys from the Steel City.
1-1, you know. I'm not going to complain. 3 out of 4 points. They're 6-2-1 their last 9. They played one really good game, and one game I didn't think they did all that well, and they still snuck a point. So I'm not going to complain with that. The last time we were on, they had just were playing Colorado the day before, and they lost. But now they headed to Montreal on Thursday, and that was a crazy game. I actually didn't even really watch it, which was the crazy part. A 9-2 final score, which was the most goals any team has scored all season. But
they kept scoring.
Yeah, it was just like every time I refreshed the app, especially in the third, because it was 6 third period goals. Every time I refreshed the app, goal, and it just like it was crazy. They only had 34 shots, 33, something like that in the game, and a quarter of them go in the goal. Bad night for Montreal for sure. That was not a game that they wanted, and it was in Montreal, which makes it even more crazy. But really good result in that game, and everybody got involved. The top guys played great, and even the bottom guys, fourth line guys, were getting goals and points, and just points galore. Everybody was getting tons of goals, tons of points. It was great to see that. And then they headed to Ottawa on Saturday and played not very good game, in my opinion, at all, and get beat 3-2 in overtime by a Senators team who had just the night prior played in Carolina against the Hurricanes. The Penguins did not play a good game. They started out so bad, like the Senators were just on top of them, and were just tiring them out, skating around the ice, and it was just a bad start to that game because of the fact that Ottawa had just played and had to travel home, and an emergency goalie being put in because Ullmark was not supposed to start. It was supposed to be Forsberg starting, and he tweaked something in the pregame and didn't get to play. So you get a guy that just played 24 hours before in Carolina and traveled and had to play again, and they did not play very good until like the third period. But luckily they came out with a point. Ottawa wins in overtime. A game they deserve to win more than the Penguins did, that's for sure. But I'll take the point in that one. It's crucial at any point in time of the year to get the points, and they got one. So now they take those, and they head to this week, a pretty interesting, tougher week this week for sure. They start playing, now, probably 10 minutes ago, against the LA Kings at home. And then they head to Nashville on Thursday to play the Predators, a team that's been struggling, but is going to try to find their way out of a slump. And then Saturday they head to New Jersey for the first time to play the Devils, a team that, again, that's the
first time they're going to play this year against New Jersey, or the first time in New Jersey?
At all. They haven't played New Jersey yet.
Wow.
They haven't played New Jersey yet. We haven't played Philly yet. We've only played Washington once. The Rangers, we played twice. Who else?
Carolina.
We played Carolina twice already. But yeah, so we play finally in New Jersey, the team that, again, has been the bugaboo for us for the most part until last year at the end of that Cinderella run, almost to the playoffs. The Penguins beat the Devils finally, and it's the first time in many games So hopefully this is a good week for them. 4 to 6 points, I think, is the hope. Obviously, it starts tonight. LA's been a hot team, playing good on the road and at home. They got to be ready from the jump. And then the Nashville game again, another one, that a team that's been struggling but is trying to find their way out. That's not going to be an easy game to win. So I'm looking forward to these games this week. And then, like I mentioned last week, in about 3.5 weeks now, almost 4, I'll be traveling to watch them play back-to-back against Ottawa and Tampa Bay. So looking forward to that. About 3 weeks now from Saturday, I'll be flying to catch the game. So I'm excited for that. But until then, hopefully they play pretty well and can keep themselves afloat. They've been definitely on a good trend. 6-2-1 their last 9 against great teams for the most part. They've played pretty solid teams in the standings, or from last year even, that were playoff teams. So they just got to keep playing the way they are, digging themselves up, and keep it going. One thing that did happen this week, and that I want to mention before you get to earlier stuff, is in the post game after the Ottawa loss, they were interviewing Jari about the game, and he was complaining about one of the goals that they had scored because it was a drive to the side of the net by Shabbat. He was like skating by it past the face-off dot, and he shot it towards the goal, and it went off of I think Batherson's skate and in the net. Good goal. I mean, he didn't kick it. His skate kind of moved, but he didn't kick it in. And Jari was complaining about it, saying that that's a goal that needs to not happen in NHL. Like, it's ridiculous that they allow it, yada, 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 complaining. And I didn't like it because, you know what? Yeah, it's not the best goal, but it's a goal. And you know what? If you're going to be mad, then blame yourself, because no angle to shoot, and you're not taking the pass at all, and you just let it happen, and your defense is not tightening up on them to body position them out. So I didn't like that comment. My opinion, that's something that should get you benched, but that's not going to happen. They don't really have the ability to do so. So we'll see what comes out of that and how his play comes around, but definitely not something I was very happy about seeing. But nonetheless, again, a good week for us, and hopefully it keeps going. Just take it day by day and game by game. They got to keep playing the way they are, and they'll be coming up hopefully soon.
Speaking of Tristan Jarry's comment, they mentioned it last night on the Oilers Panthers broadcast, because I watched it on the NHL Network, and it was the Panthers broadcast, and they mentioned that after Kachuk's goal that went off of his skate on the Oilers, and that they reviewed it, and it was no kicking motion.
It's a goal. It's part of it. It's how it goes. It's
been a part of, as long as you're not making a kicking motion. If you just put your skate up like Kachuk did last night, and it goes off of your skate, as long as you're not,
it's part of the game.
As long as you're not making the motion of kicking it in, it's part of the game.
It is part of the game, and if definitely not something I think a goalie should be complaining about. I mean, you need to be anticipating it both ways, so that shouldn't happen in the first place.
You know, there last night in the Florida Edmonton game, there were like 3 or 4 goals that the goal.
Oh, that Reinhart one was bad. I'm sorry,
the Reinhart one was bad. There was a couple of ones that Bob should have gotten. It was a sharp Brown goal that should never have gone in.
I think the backbreaker though definitely is that Reinhart one, because at that time y'all were tied.
Yeah, and Reinhart, I don't know, Ekholm just, I thought was going to get to the puck first, but Reinhart's
beat it to him.
He beat it to him, and it was just a terrible angle. And it was like 3 or 4 of them last night in the Florida game.
Those are the goals that you're trying to get Stu away from having, because those happen a bit often to him.
And another thing is, he was going down a lot, and they were going up high, and that's
you're going to get beat every time.
But we'll get to that game here coming up for the Oilers. They went 2-1 since we did the broadcast last Wednesday. But if you look at Tuesday to Tuesday, they're 3-1 because they beat Tampa Bay last Tuesday, 2-1, and then they went into Minnesota and beat the Wild 7-1, which really, to me, was a shocker, because the Wild had
one of the best teams,
and they hadn't given up that many goals all season. And then that was on Thursday, and then Vegas came to Edmonton for a little rematch of the game I saw in Vegas, and the Oilers won that one 6-3. So they had 2 wins in a row against division teams before coming into last night's Stanley Cup final rematch against the Florida Panthers. And it was a back and forth. It wasn't the prettiest game.
No.
But it was 2-1 Florida,
just
after
lead change
one.
after lead
Yeah, and
change
then it was
after lead
4-2
change.
Edmonton, and it was 4-3 Edmonton, and then Florida came on in the third, and the Oilers forgot to show up in the third period, and it was 5-4, and then they tied it on a really fluky goal for the Oilers, but ultimately the Panthers won that one.
I look at Bush on that one though. He slipped on that first one
Yeah.
that they got. And
On the power,
some nights,
the shorthanded goal.
some nights that just happens.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in this league, every team's due for some stinker games. The Wild had that against you guys for sure. That's their worst game of the season. I mean, a game you can't really be too disappointed in because that's a tough team, but definitely one that you want to win. But still, rebound.
It was.
It's one of those games.
It's just one of those games. You have this defending Stanley Cup champions, the guys who are leading the Atlantic. I think Toronto's leading the Atlantic.
Well, either way, they're a contender team.
But the Oilers are 8-2 in their last 10 games.
It's good.
Now 5-6 in their last 5-1 in their last 6. So they're doing what they have to do. They're getting back into it. They're third place right now by themselves in the Pacific. There's only like 3 or 4 points separating Vegas and Edmonton with LA in between. So I really believe that's going to be the 3 teams are going to battle for the Pacific. Vancouver outside. But as you said the other night when Thatcher Demko went in for the first time, they gave him no support.
Nope.
I think, and I'm going to mention this, I think when we come up to our NHL talk in a minute, but there's just some teams that are pretending from guys who you thought were contenders last year are pretenders this year. Yeah. McDavid and Draisaitl are climbing in the Yard Ross race. McDavid has sixth place, tied for 6th with 44 points. Draisaitl's second with 47. Draisaitl's leading goal scorer with 23 now, thanks to a goal last night. And something that I'm finally seeing some light at the end of the tunnel is the power play. It's now 13th in the NHL at 22.8%. So the power play is starting to click. And I think what I saw last night against Florida was a lot more shooting.
That's what they need to do. You don't score if you don't fire it on the net. So that's been the key for them. That's what made him so good in the playoff last year, is that anytime you take a penalty, you might as well just be down already a goal.
Yeah, and like they started getting, or they were
they just get too pass happy. That's what we've seen many times,
and
is that they get so pass happy.
Last night on the Draisaitl goal, the power play goal, it was the pass, but I saw a lot more of Bush shooting the puck.
I mean, I think with that group on ice, there should be no reason for the most part they don't get at least 3 or 4 shots off, because that's just too much talent on the ice. But they get really pass happy and try the perfect play. It's got to be a garbage goal at points, just something that deflects, bounce a rebound, whatever. Yeah. But again, that's a good thing to have happen for you guys, because that's the key to y'all's offense, is that.
Right. And the penalty kill is climbing slowly, 26th place, 73.3%. Zach Hyman's coming along, and he's been back since he got back from his injury. He scored 6 goals, a couple of times. Like last night, he had 2 goals. So he's got 10 goals on the year. And I'll just bring it up now. He got hit in the face with a deflected Bouchard bomb on a power play that deflected and hit him right in the face. And he directly went off the ice. And I was in the second period. Guy comes back. All right. And this is what I'm going to prove a point. The guy comes back in the third period, full face shield, like Connor Bedard wore last year when he broke his jaw. He almost got his hat trick goal. Yeah. That shows me, and that should show everybody out there, that if you watch the other sports, football, basketball, baseball, hockey athletes are the toughest athletes in any sport. Forget about soccer, forget about football, forget about basketball. These are guys that, like Hyman last night, taking a 95-mile-an-hour slap shot to the face, comes back and almost scores a hat trick. It's like guys have gotten hit into the boards where you think that they're going to be no longer coming back, and they come back. Hockey players are just built differently than other athletes. You look at LeBron James. How many times has he flopped and began being injured? Soccer players are notorious for that. You get a football player who maybe tweaks something and he's not going to come back. Hockey players, There's just something about them, and it goes back for decades and decades and decades. They are the toughest athlete. If you think otherwise, you can let us know. You can join us right now on Facebook Live. But after that hit that
Yeah.
Hyman took to the face, we had to talk about it. So Knobloch, Coach Knobloch had Draisaitl and McDavid together last night, all night against Florida. I don't think that's necessary. I think you switch. They were more successful switching them up.
Yeah.
Because then you've got, okay, well, we just got through the McDavid. Now we got to get through Draisaitl. And then you got put Nuge down on the thirds. I like it if you're behind.
But you're not.
But you're not. They played the whole game with them too.
You got to experiment throughout the season for sure, but I don't think that's the time. But again, one loss isn't going to kill you.
No. And we'll go right into what they've got coming up. And they've got, I think this month of December, they've only got 2 road games. One of them they already played in Minnesota. This week, they got Boston at home Thursday, Saturday at home to San Jose, and then Sunday at home to Ottawa before the Christmas break. So we always like to look at, well, on paper, Boston, all 3 are winnable. All 3 are point getters, I think. But as soon as I say that, something's going to happen.
Boston's the one that you really got to look at. And even Ottawa, the way they played the other day, that's going to be an interesting matchup. But yeah, get those points and rack them up before you guys start going on the road a lot more, because that's going to be
because they're going to go on the road here in
next
the
month.
All right, so NHL stuff.
Oh, the New York Rangers.
Hi to Scott. Scott's watching us. The New York Rangers. Last year, 2 years. Was it last year they won the President's Trophy?
Yeah, but I mean they've been to the Eastern Final the last.
And they are, if I'm not mistaken,
3-7 their last 10.
3-7. 3-7 in their last 10 games. Is Laviolette on the hot seat as a coach of the Rangers?
I mean, I think he's on the hot seat. I think they have a lot of players on the hot seat that are going to be tradable. They're not playing good. There's no energy there. They're losing a lot of games and they're losing a lot of ground. They're out of the playoff picture right now. They're not in it.
No.
And
they're not.
They've lost their games they've lost their games in hand for the most part to teams that are behind.
Mm-hmm.
Even the teams like, okay, Ottawa's jumped them. Pittsburgh's right behind them. You got even teams like that are in the wild card hunt that are there right now. Tampa Bay, Philly's another team that could make that's a lot of teams that could pass them up if they keep playing this way. They're not playing very good. Their stars aren't playing like stars at all. Their goalies are doing all they can, but they're not really scoring. They're not really letting in that many goals. They're letting in 3 maybe a night, but they're not getting any goals.
No,
and that's not going to win you games. It's crazy. I didn't anticipate that coming, but you know what? I'm not a big Ranger person. I don't like the Rangers. I don't like their fans. Their fans think that the Rangers are the best thing since sliced bread, and the New York Rangers have only won 1 Stanley Cup since 1940.
Yeah.
So I don't think that they're legit. I think they're a pretending team, and they disappear in the playoffs for the most part every year. Even last year, they get to the East Final. Okay, great, but you haven't made the final.
No. And I know we have one Ranger apologist, fan, Dave Rogan. If you happen to be watching, chime in and let us know what you think about the Rangers.
Their stars are not playing like stars. I think they're getting their money and they're disappearing. No. And I think you need to make changes with that. I think get rid of some of them and get some depth pieces back in there and show them that you mean business, because to this point they haven't done anything about it and teams are just beating them. And that gives you confidence when they're doing nothing to fix it, because you're like, this is great. We've got all this energy and we're playing a team that has no energy and hasn't had anything going their way. We're going to win.
And they had a players only meeting. It was, I think, maybe yesterday. And it was overheard that the players said there was going to be no mention of Laviolette, which you could look at it 2 different ways, that they don't blame the coach, or they are blaming the coach and are not playing
I don't
for him,
think
but
they're
going to say anything.
I don't think they blame him. I think they know that they need to be better.
Yeah.
End of the day, the product they're putting on the ice is not a good product. They're not playing good hockey. That's it. They're great, talented players. Yeah. They should be doing a lot better than that. They should be leading the division.
Yeah.
Because they have one of the best goalies in Shesterkin, and they have a good backup and
And
quick.
Quick is one of the
And their
better
lineup,
backups.
you look at it on paper, that should be the division leading team in the Metro, and it's not.
The Jets kind of falling off a little bit after their hot
Yeah.
start, 4-5-1 in their last 10 games.
I think little cause for concern. You know what? Jets are going to make the playoffs. Do I think they're going to make it far? Nope. I don't. I don't think the Jets play hockey the way they need to play it to win the Stanley Cup. It got proven last year against Colorado that Hellebuck was a human being, and Avalanche can score a lot of goals. The Jets can't.
Yeah.
And that's the difference.
Yeah.
The Jets are winning a lot of games by, for the most part, not scoring too much. They have had a couple of outbursts offensively. Like Boston the other day, they beat 8-1. But for the most part, the Jets are a team that win 3-1 games, 4-2 games. But when you go to the playoffs and you're playing teams like Dallas, the Avalanche that can score and score and score and score, they can't compete with that.
No.
And we'll see what happens with that. No cause for concern, though, for Winnipeg fans. They're going to make the playoffs. They're going to be fine. They're going to be A-okay. You look at even teams like Washington. I didn't expect Washington to be where they are. Do I think they're legit? I do. They're playing without their best player.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're winning games.
There's like 7. They've got 7 wins without.
They're playing they're playing without their best player, and they're winning tons of games. It doesn't pay me to say that as an arch rival, because you know what? That's a good hockey team, and they're playing hungry hockey, and they're winning their games, and they're winning and winning and winning and winning. And it's nice to see some differences in the league every year where certain teams are doing better than others. It's pretty cool. I'm happy about it. But yeah, Washington definitely a contender. Winnipeg, pretender. Vancouver, pretender. Rangers definitely, I think, are a pretender as well. Ottawa's a team I could see making a run to try possibly make a wild card, but I don't think it's sustainable either.
So do you think that the teams that are in the running right now are the teams that are supposed to be
that are in the race that are in right now?
Yeah.
No, I think it's going to change. I definitely think it's going to change. I think the Devils are going to fall a little bit. They haven't yet. That's again my opinion. It may not happen. I don't know. But there's just so many good teams that can make it. It's going to be close. It's going to come down to the last day or last couple of days when it comes down to it in April. That's for sure.
The last thing I have on my list is the Buffalo Sabres. Now, don't expect much from Buffalo and haven't for years. Even with Jack Eichel there was nothing expected.
Buffalo Sabres have probably realistically been the worst NHL team for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
They have the longest playoff drought in the NHL. They, with that being said, they don't make the playoffs, and they get good players on their teams that they can't do anything with. Right now, they have some great guys on their team. They have Darlene, Tage Thompson's there, even other guys that you might have like Jack Quinn, for example. But even the guys they used to have, they had Reinhart on their team at one point. Yeah. They had Eichel on their team.
Yeah.
Even had guys like Rodriguez on your team, and other guys, Brandon Hagel too, guys that can make a difference and are on their teams. For some reason, they're not getting managed the right way in Buffalo, and that's a team that's on their 10-game losing streak.
Yeah.
Their coach Lindy Ruff has, in his long coaching career, said he's never seen anything quite like this. It's going to be the hardest puzzle he's ever had to solve, because he doesn't understand why they can't win games.
And with a team like Buffalo, they just hired Ruff back as coach for this year. So I don't think that he's in trouble.
No,
because it's like Buffalo weren't expecting.
Can you blame the coaches after that's happened so many times? You can't. It's just something going on the ice. Thank God for Buffalo residents that you guys have the Bills, because that's a sports city that has been suffering without a championship.
Forever.
Obviously, everybody knows 4 straight Super Bowl losses for the Bills back in the day, and now they're looking like they're going to probably be a contender to win it. But the Sabres are not anytime soon going to be winning anything.
And it's really sad, because the Sabres have been around since the late 60s. And they've done nothing.
They made the final in 99 against Dallas and lost. But that's a team that literally nobody expects to do anything. And those poor fans not poor fans, because you know what? You love your team. You support your team. I dig it. But you go to the games and you just watch a team that just can't win. They just don't win anything. They miss the playoffs every year. And every year, the same thing is said. This could be a team that could make it. And it's not. And then you look at game 40 and they're already way at the bottom. It's like, why? What's going on? I don't know. I don't watch enough of their games to see it. But they're just getting beat by everybody.
Yeah. and it's just like you said, it's the curse of Buffalo, and it's
I think I could see I think that's a team I could see really relocating.
yeah. You know what I was going to say? That probably could be a relocation.
I could see them relocating
because it's not working in Buffalo. It's like I think the fans in the auditorium in Buffalo, the smaller rink, were a lot more enthusiastic, and they had some great players back in the 70s and the 80s.
LaFontaine,
and even go back to the French Connection line. Yeah, they had one of the best goaltenders ever, Dominic Hasek, for years. And
you just this I think they're going to end up relocating. I really do, because at some point that misery's got to end for that city. The fan support's going to die because the Sabres are not doing anything. They're not winning. And at some point that's going to get old.
Yeah.
I could see them relocating, but again, that's a good sports city. But I think right now, obviously, those fans don't really give a crap about the Sabres. They care about the Bills for a good reason.
Yeah, and it's bad because with being in the state of New York, everybody forgets about Buffalo because you've got New York City, you've got New Jersey, you've got all these teams, Brooklyn. When you kind of talk about all the sports, everybody kind of forgets about Buffalo, and I feel bad because the Sabres are a proud franchise. They've been around for years, but I agree with Carson.
It's going to be time.
It's going to be time that they're going to have to just relocate the franchise,
restart themselves and refresh because it's not working there in Buffalo. Like Dad already said, not winning. The culture's gone. The enthusiasm is gone. Their fan support, half the time they get way overloaded by other teams' fans, especially when Toronto goes there.
Mm-hmm.
When Toronto goes there, it's like 90% Leaf fans.
Yeah, because it's right there. Oh, it's pretty close.
But even other teams like Montreal, you bet you Ranger fans fill that place.
Yeah,
Islander fans fill that place. Detroit, Chicago, like it's I think it's the experiment's over. I don't want to quote myself or book it and guarantee it, but I think in the next 10 years there will at least be discussions, if not already happenings, of Buffalo relocating.
Yeah, and
I'm surprised that that's not a conversation that doesn't occur.
I would look at Buffalo relocating to Quebec City. Mm-hmm. That would be a good one.
Even then, like, I don't know. I look at like the KeyBank Center they play. It looks old. Like, it doesn't look like it's that great of a place. The fans are just really quiet. I don't know. It's just sad, but I think they'll relocate. I would like Quebec City, to have that old Montreal Quebec rivalry back. But I think at some point that's going to be a discussion that'll come up that the Sabres are going to need to relocate because it's not worth it.
Not worth it.
They're probably losing money.
Yeah. Well, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, just a crazy week. Again, lots is going on. We'll have to keep following too, like what we said last week with Nashville. Nashville still,
but that'll be like an ongoing thing all season.
We'll see what kind of changes this week. I'm interested to see what happens with the Rangers. We'll follow that because if they keep losing as well, that's going to be a big development. But yeah, that's all I've really got. Again, like we said, we're going to be off next week, so really 2 weeks without a show. We might do something small, like maybe on a weekend or something, but maybe a pregame, like if there's maybe a Saturday night schedule when you guys play and we play.
Yeah, maybe when like the NHL comes back after the Christmas break, we'll do something.
But we'll see. There's going to be a lot happening in those 2 weeks for sure. There could be a lot of movement.
And then we're going to get into the Winter Classic coming up on New Year's Eve. And then you got the Four Nations tournament coming up in February. So we got a lot to be talking about. And just the run, the last half of the season. It's going to be very interesting. Who's going to get in, who's going to get out. And then like
the playoffs again.
With the playoffs, we're on just about every night.
That's good.
Again, you can get this every Tuesday, right around 5:45, 6 o'clock. All depends on traffic here in San Antonio. And you can get us the next day on the Refocused Radio Network through our YouTube channel with Shemaya Reed
and Spreaker
and Spreaker.com. And then again on TikTok, Carson, I do post game for both the Penguins and the Oilers.
Yep.
So we're going to, again, as Carson said, we're going to be off next week for Christmas, but we'll do something afterwards, probably like Carson said on a Saturday
night. Yeah.
And we just really encourage you to check out our past podcasts. And if you want to send us messages on our send them on our IMs here on Facebook or however you can get a hold of us. Let us know how you think your team's doing so far as we're 30 plus games into the regular season. Where do you think your team's going to go? And then the trade deadline is going to come up here.
What do you anticipate?
Not that long. And so do you think somebody's going to be making a move on your team? We'd love to hear from you. We really enjoyed doing this, and we enjoy, again, thank you, Scott, for joining us tonight. But that's about it. And in the meantime, and in between time, he loves when I do this. Everybody have a great hockey night. I know you do. That's why I say it.